A woman delivering food for DoorDash in Tampa, Florida, was ruthlessly attacked and forcefully kidnapped before she was thankfully rescued by her family members. What is going on in Tampa? Let's talk about it. This is Criminal Justice Corner, where we discuss true crime stories. We give you the real details surrounding what occurred, and just in case you find yourself in the same situation, we give you actionable advice and tips on how you can potentially get yourself out. I'm Dr. Jennifer Matthews, the host of the Criminal Justice Corner. I have 16 years of experience in the field of criminal justice and a doctoral degree in criminal justice. I am also an expert in video evidence. Our Criminal Justice Corner store sponsor of the day is Dr. Jennifer Matthews Consulting. Dr. Jennifer Matthews Consulting is a driving force behind digital transformations to solve cases quicker with body worn cameras, closed circuit television media, and expert witness testimony. You can find them on the web at drjennifermatthews.com. Today I have with me a special guest, Misha Williams. Miss Williams is a therapist in the Chicagoland area. Misha, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Hello, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have had experience for well over a decade in the field of social work and also direct therapy solely for the last 3 years. And my practice is called Nuanced Healing, where I offer yoga, coaching, and therapy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being my special guest today. Let's dive
Thank you
into
for
this
having me.
episode. You're so welcome. Let's dive into this episode. On the night of April 18th, 2023, around 11 p.m., according to the Tampa Police Department, an armed gunman, later identified as 38-year-old Joseph Killins, approached the DoorDash food delivery driver as she attempted to make a delivery at a Residence Inn hotel. As Killens approached her, she had on her earpods in her ears and she was on the phone with her girlfriend. He forced her back into her car at gunpoint and demanded her to drive more than 6 miles away to an apartment at the Ballara Lakes apartment complex where he sexually assaulted her. Misha, what are your thoughts at this point listening to what is occurring in this case?
Well, I'm thinking about like just the nature of sometimes existing in the female body. The vast majority of my clients are women, and a lot of times women are just out trying to live, and we have to be hyper vigilant sometimes about our safety and our surroundings in a way that I think our gentlemen friends don't necessarily have to.
I have to agree with you, and especially with her delivering so late at night, it definitely sounds like she was, trying to finish up her shift for that day.
Yes.
Now, the friend that she was on the phone with realized a robbery was taking place, and this friend alerted the police and the woman's family members. So at this point, I want to say bravo to that friend because we hear stories all the time about people when they don't initially contact the police. And my
Yes.
thing is always contact the police first and let them like clear it up later. Or they think it's a joke, so they are slow to react. I applaud this friend for moving swiftly and taking the proper actions in this situation, which were to first contact the police and then to alert her family members. Misha, would you agree with that friend that she acted accordingly?
Absolutely. She was quick thinking and was on top of everything, and it was wonderful that she was on the phone with her friend. I would just say that delivering late, I hope that any woman out would just make sure that her location is open and known to her friends in any circumstance.
I definitely agree with that. And some of my friends do that with me if they're like taking Uber or Lyft, they like share their location with me so I know where they're at.
Yes.
Now, after following the victim's phone call, after her phone location on the app, her family was able to find her and they got her out of the vehicle. So, in reaction to that, the suspect, Joseph Killins, opened fire on her family who came to rescue her. With one of the bullets ended up hitting one of the victim's girlfriend's friends. So, a female in her 20s before Joseph fled this scene. This is according to the report. So Joseph Killins is mad that he actually got caught in the act of physically assaulting this woman, and his reaction was to start shooting. Misha, what is your take on this?
I believe that it makes a lot of sense when people are pushed back against the wall and they have nothing to lose, they can become more violent and more aggressive. With the family, I feel like they had no other choice in their own minds but to go get her, even despite the risk that may be at play. So it makes a lot of sense. Everything that happened seems like it's very rational if you look at it.
Yeah, and then also it seems as if the family reached the woman before the police. So
Mhm.
had it not been for the family, we don't know what could have happened.
Yes.
So now I just think he is a miscreant and he needs to be taken off the streets immediately. So
Absolutely.
right, I'm just like, what was he thinking?
Yes. And I know you're gonna get to more further in the story, and I'm like, it's amazing that how some people are just free out here aggressively looking for victims, and when most people are just trying to live their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, because essentially he was a predator. Like he
Mhm.
approached her, he already had a gun, he already kind of had a plan because he directed her to a certain apartment complex. So he already had
Yes.
in his mind what he was going to do. So theoretically, he was just on the hunt.
Mhm. He sure was.
Now, after he fled the scene, with now he has two victims instead of the one he originally kidnapped, the one who he sexually assaulted and the one he shot. They were able to seek medical attention and contact the police. So, needless to say, this has been like a long and terrible night for that DoorDash driver just trying to make ends meet. No,
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I was saying, like, this brings up a thing that I work with, like, a lot of young women, and sometimes they're like, "Well, this made me feel uncomfortable, but I didn't wanna be impolite,"
Mm,
or, "I didn't wanna cross the street, so I didn't wanna make the other person feel funny." I'm all about gaslight-free, therapy. If it doesn't feel right, move. Somebody's
I
feelings is
agree.
not more important than your safety.
I agree. And women tend to put their feelings aside for others often. So I think it's
Yes.
good that you're instructing women to put their feelings and their thoughts in the forefront versus like pushing them down deep inside.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Now, based on the descriptions of the two victims, police created a composite sketch of the suspect and publicized it, along with a request for help from the public in locating him. Now, the next morning, Joseph Killins, still on the run and hasn't been captured yet, he was not done terrorizing the streets of Tampa. He allegedly knocked down a woman in her early 40s at that same apartment building complex, and he attacked her by punching her in the face and aggressively taking her backpack. So this man is clearly going after women because he feels like they're easy targets. It
Yeah.
wasn't enough that he sent two women to the hospital the night before. He's still out hunting for victims the very next morning. He is not laying low. He is not seeking shelter. He's not trying to avoid the cops or anything. He is just out and, just being a common gun toting criminal at this point. Misha, what are you thinking of his behavior?
I'm thinking like it is like for lack of a better word, it is unhinged that he has no fear at this point.
Yep.
You come back to the scene of the crime, and I know a lot of there's a thrill in that too. And
Yes.
first, the fact that it was just like from sexual battery to just physical aggression and stealing. He had a vendetta. That is my take on it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, something that did come out of this, which was unlucky for the first two victims, well, really unlucky for all three victims, I should say. But the third victim was able to report her horrible incident immediately to the officers, and that led them to Killins, who was located in a nearby Tampa Inn. While looking into the third victim's incident, officers recovered items located in his hotel room that related to the kidnapping and sexual assault of the DoorDash driver. So, thankfully, to the actions of that third victim, she was able to solve two crimes in that essence.
Mhm. Yes, and I had a question for you. Um, Wanting to know what is the role of like the apartment complex in the situation? Like, I wonder if a message was put out, like, be aware that somebody's in the area because he came back the next day.
Right, but you know what? Remember, it started at like 11 p.m.
True.
So, and this is early that following morning. So I feel like he's just on a spree at this point. I don't even know if he went to sleep if you think about it. He's just still in that apartment complex. So,
Yeah.
did he sleep in his car? Did he sleep under
Mm,
a rock? I don't know. But it seems like he woke up and just started committing crime immediately. I feel like he never
that's
left the
true.
scene.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah. So Killens was then arrested thanks to that third victim and her information that she gave to the police. He was charged with armed kidnapping, robbery with a firearm, armed sexual battery, and aggravated battery with a weapon. He also faces another robbery charge for the April 19th incident where he took the backpack. So these are like back to back incidents at this point. So, in my opinion and experience, these charges are very appropriate, and I'm glad they caught him so quickly. Even though it was the next day, it's still within like a less than like a 12-hour span if you think about it, because it happened so late at night the first time.
True, you're absolutely right, and my concern for the women is I hope that they get the support that they need following because any type of, traumatic, violence towards your body can stay with you. I'm happy they're safe, and I'm happy that, they were here to tell the tale, but I
Yep.
really hope that they get the support that they will need just so they can move through life, not having, like, fear or PTSD.
Exactly, that trauma in like in their daily lives that they're able to get tools to help them cope.
Yes.
Okay. Now, after Joseph was arrested, interim Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkhaw issued a statement, and I quote, "This criminal is now off the streets thanks to the tireless efforts of every Tampa Police Department employee and the assistance provided by members of our community. My thoughts remain with the victims. I hope this arrest brings them a sense of comfort, knowing that he will now face justice for the crimes he chose to commit." End quote. Now, I, for one, can appreciate the interim police chief of Tampa supporting his staff and the community members in this way because this is not something that we always see on the news. We don't always see the police getting up in front of the news and thanking the community members, thanking their staff for all the hard work they do. So I think it's important that police chiefs are visible, that they are supportive of their officers, their members, and especially the general public. This is the way that the public will begin to restore their trust into the police. I was very impressed and inspired by the chief when I read his statement. Misha, what did you think of his statement?
I I was thinking it's very community oriented. Like this is like how you grow community and have connections with the people who are serving and protecting. Because a lot of times there's this disconnect where there's not like communication and understanding that it's a partnership between our communities and the law enforcement.
Absolutely. And I think because he was so quick to come in front of the news and thank everybody, that the public will be more willing to help the police in the future in this area.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think they will know, okay, so they're listening to us. They're going to take it seriously. It's not going to be something where, these women are not, um, they don't get the justice
Pushed
that
to
they
the
deserve.
side. Yeah,
Yes,
like pushed to the
exactly.
side or not taken seriously, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Now, DoorDash also issued a statement, and I quote, "We are appalled by the heinous and absorbent crime. No one should ever have to endure something as horrific as this, and we're here to support the Dasher in any way we can. We're grateful to Tampa Police for their work to hold the perpetrator accountable, and we strongly hope justice is served." End quote. So these are the words of DoorDash spokesperson Julian Crawley. Again, I'm happy to see that DoorDash is willing to step up and help out the DoorDash driver in this nightmarish crime. She will definitely need some support, healing, and some financial assistance during her recovery period. And it's good to know that DoorDash will be there to assist her with her needs. Misha, what do you think about DoorDash stepping up?
I think it's good that they stepped up in this incident. I wonder if going forward, maybe this might be something for them to think about, maybe some type of, I don't know, system wide look
Hmm.
at safety for people, maybe a panic button on the app or something of that nature, because it is a lot of people out here really, trying to do all they can to make ends meet. And that does mean working, hours that may not be considered safe. So I hope that maybe this is the beginning of considering, a wider priority on safety of the drivers because we really rely on them.
Absolutely. And I think that's really good that you mentioned that because that is something I'm sure that's not just occurring in Tampa. We know DoorDash is kind of everywhere in America now. So it is something that they should look into as far as keeping their employees safe or contractors, however they are, keeping them safe.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, on April 26, 2023, a bond hearing was held for Joseph Killings. A bond hearing is when the court decides how much money you will have to post in order to be released from jail while your case is pending. During Killings' bond hearing, a judge determined that he would continue to be held without bail. This means there isn't a set amount of money that he can pay to be released from custody. He just has to sit in jail until the judge determines a monetary bail and he pays it or he goes to trial. Now, I, for one, feel safer knowing that he is behind bars. He is unable to senselessly harm additional women. And I think that the judge's determination was just. What do you think, Misha?
I agree because just the rapid, way that he has been moving in the community, it's just not safe for him to get back out because if you can do harm 3 people in 12 hours, imagine what you could do if you're out and about. I wonder if it would be helpful for, you know, people to really look at how this could be. I say that because, in Illinois, when people were like, "Oh, we're not gonna do any, like, bond situation," and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know."
I mean, in some instances, like this one in particular, I
Yes,
think is
yes,
just. Now, we
yes,
do know you can't blanket it. You can't
right,
blanket not let anybody out. I get that
right,
totally. But judging him solely on his actions,
yes.
allegedly, I think it was just.
No, I do too. I absolutely do too, and I hope those women feel safer because of it.
Absolutely. Now, during his bond hearing, the state's attorney called the DoorDash driver to the stand, who described in her own words the incident that she had to endure at the hands of Mr. Killins. Brooke Paget, the assistant state's attorney in this case, advised the judge that, I quote, in this case, it is very clear that the defendant poses a harm, substantial threat of harm to the community, and he has victimized two separate victims unknown to him within the span of 8 hours or less, end quote. So that goes back to exactly what we were saying. So we were saying 12 hours. So they're shortening that window to 8 hours or less. So I
Wow.
have to agree, right? I have to agree wholeheartedly with this Miss Paget as it relates to the alleged offender. Everyone is safer with him behind bars at this point. Amisha, would you like to add to that?
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly there that, these the public is safer, and the young lady who was so brave to, give her testimony, I really
Yeah.
hope that that's, like, emotionally and psychologically empowering for her, that she's able to take her power back, like, through that act.
Absolutely, because that had to be somewhat liberating to be able to face him and know that her words helped keep him in jail that much longer.
Yes, absolutely, because it can be re-traumatizing telling a story, so it takes a lot of courage to get up there and do what she did.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then so quickly afterwards, so this is only like mere
Right.
days after the incident that she's out in court, telling everybody what has allegedly happened to her.
Yes.
So the judge in the bond hearing had some harsh words for Mr. Killins. Now, her words, I felt each of these words just as I was in the courtroom, like they were like heartfelt words. And I quote, "You are a coward, sir. You are a coward for attacking these women. You're a coward with a propensity for violence. There is no way I would release you." End quote. Now, this is from Judge Catherine M. Catlin. Her words, although harsh, were very warranted considering the totality of his actions. He went on a mini crime spree, and his only victims were women. Not saying that he should have chosen men, just that he
Mhm.
chose a population that he felt he could dominate. This is a coward in my vocabulary all day. Misha, what do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, as a therapist, I definitely, hope that he gets some type of mental health, support while he is in, jail and or whatever however long he ends up in custody. Or what is it? Would he go to prison? I don't know.
If he's found guilty, yes, he would go to
Okay.
prison, but currently he's in jail.
He's just okay. So I would think that I hope he gets some type of help. So there could be a rehabilitation for him because I don't want him to come out and harm anyone else if he, just sitting there and nothing has happened. Help get to the bottom of why he is out here, you know, being a just
Miscreant.
yes, exactly. Because I believe there's a reason under everything, but we all have a choice in how we respond to life. So I
Right.
hope he gets the tools to respond much better.
Exactly. So that he doesn't, because they say hurt people hurt people. He should
Yes.
not be hurting other people in this way. He should be seeking
Right.
therapy or seeking help so that he can handle this in a better way in the future.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I wanted to give the listeners some takeaways from this episode. So, the first takeaway I want to recommend is to contact the police at the first sign of trouble, always. It is easy to tell them you no longer need their assistance versus trying to reach them after it's too late. So, if you're in a position where you can seek out police assistance, please do so immediately. If you feel threatened, if a person you know or love feels threatened, always contact the police first. Secondly, it is important to let someone always know your whereabouts. I have to admit, I have to get better at doing this one myself. But this woman's family was able to track her location and she was able to be rescued. That is the best outcome for a crime such as this because we all know the alternative. I applaud her family's efforts in this case. These are the true heroes in this story. This family, they're the true heroes, and they quite possibly saved her life on that fateful night. Misha, what would you like the listeners to take away from this episode?
It follow your first mind, your gut. If something does not feel right, scream, make noise, get away. You'd rather be embarrassed than be harmed.
I
That's
totally, totally agree with that. I'm a screamer, so I have to admit I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I scream. I'm not saying I'm harmed, but I'm just saying like I get
right.
scared easily. So I'm a
Yes.
screamer. I'm gonna scream to the high heavens. Everybody gonna know that I was scared. Okay, so I
Yes.
totally agree with that.
And I would also, these women are just so brave. And I think a lot of times we do not, I would say for women, a lot of times we judge like, well, why were you out so late? And sometimes there can be
Yes,
victim blaming.
and we're
But as
not
you
doing
see,
that.
right, predators strike early morning or night.
Yes,
So
they do. Yeah. This
as we
story is a
see
true
here,
testament to that. He is a
yes.
true testament to that because he started late and he concluded the very next morning, wee hours of the morning. You're so right about that. Now, I definitely appreciate you being my special guest today, Misha. Where can the listeners locate you on the web or social media?
Thank you so much for having me. My website is nuancedhealing.com. So that's nuanced with the ED, healing.com. And I'm also on Instagram at therapy with me, spelled MI for me. So my name's Misha, so me.
Okay. Nice. Okay. So we definitely want our listeners to be able to check you out on the web. Now, you can find me, your host, Dr. Jennifer Matthews, on Instagram at Dr. Jennifer Matthews. And also, the podcast has a IG page, Criminal Justice Corner. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Tell a friend to tell a friend about Criminal Justice Corner. I will see you next time on Criminal Justice Corner. New episodes are posted every Wednesday. Thank you for listening.